planet's solar system. It rotates and also revolves around the Sun in an orbit. Orbit is the path of the planets around the Sun. The shape of the orbit is oval. The Earth spins on its axis once in 24 hours from west to east. This movement is known as rotation. In addition to rotation, the Earth revolves around the Sun. It takes 365 days to complete a revolution. These two motions of the Earth are very important to the creatures of the Earth. It provides the suitable conditions for the living beings. Rotation, day and night. The Earth rotates on its axis. The axis is an imaginary line which passes through the center of the Earth from the North Pole to the South Pole. The axis is tilted at an angle of 66.5 degrees to the plane of the Earth's orbit. Rotation causes day and night. The half portion of Earth which is facing the Sun and receiving the light has day. The rear portion which is dark has night. It also influences the direction of the flow of ocean currents and the direction of winds. It also causes tides, which is a rhythmic rise and fall of ocean water twice a day. Japan, which lies in the extreme east of the eastern hemisphere, is called the land of the rising sun. Places on the east are likely to see the sun first, and their time is ahead of places in the west. At one point in its orbit, on one day, the northern part of the Earth has its maximum inclination towards the sun, and on this particular day, the sun's rays strike the Earth directly on the Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degree north latitude. That is, the sun's rays strike the Earth at an angle of 90 degrees here. This is the subsolar point. This occurs on June 21st or 22nd each year, and the day is known as the summer solstice. Summer for those who live in the northern hemisphere. It might be safer and more generally applicable to call it the June solstice. If you were at 23.5 degrees north latitude on that day and you looked up at noon, the sun would be directly overhead. This latitude is the farthest north on the Earth that the sun's rays will be directly overhead. Further north, at noon, the sun will never be directly overhead, but always appears at least a little bit to the south. The latitude of 23.5 degrees north is known as the Tropic of Cancer, and it is the northern boundary of the tropics. The Earth is also revolving around the Sun along a path called orbit. The Earth takes a fixed path called orbit to move around the Sun at a speed of 30 kilometers per second. Like the Earth, all other planets move around the Sun in their own orbits, and the time taken to move around the Sun varies depending on their distance from the Sun. The Earth takes 365 and 1/4 days to revolve around the Sun. But in our calendar, a year has only 365 days. Do you know how we reckon the 1/4 quarter day? We accumulate the 1/4 day for 4 years, and in the month of February, we add one more day and say February has 29 days after every 4 years. This year is known as the leap year. The year 2012 is a leap year. Can you guess which will be the next 2 leap years? Seasons. The most important effect of revolution is that it causes the seasons on the earth. Seasons are caused due to the revolution of the earth around the sun and also due to the tilt of the earth's axis. The earth tilts at an angle 66.5 degrees to its plane of rotation. When one part of the earth leans towards the sun, the other part leans away from the sun. The part leaning towards the sun experiences the summer season, while the one leaning away experiences the winter season. There are 4 main seasons that the earth experiences: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. When the northern hemisphere experiences summer, the southern hemisphere will have winter and vice versa. Twice in a year, the sun shines directly above the equator during equinoxes and once on each tropic during the solstices. Equinoxes are dates when the night and days are equal. Solstice is the day on which the difference between the length of days and nights is the largest. On 21st March and 23rd September, the sun is exactly above the equator. 21st March is the vernal equinox and 23rd September is the autumnal equinox. On 21st June, when the sun is shining directly overhead Tropic of Cancer as the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, it is called summer solstice. The number of hours of daylight goes on increasing as we move to north and beyond the Arctic Circle. There is 6 months of continuous daylight. On 21st December, the sun is directly over the Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere as the tilt of the axis brings the southern hemisphere closer to the sun, and it is called winter solstice. Then the northern hemisphere experiences winter solstice during this time. 21st December is also the shortest day in the northern hemisphere.